Hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. We've got a cringe fest ahead of us in this video, and that is because we are reacting to an Arbonne opportunity call today, and we're gonna get right into it. But first, we need this disclaimer. Okay, now that that is out of the way, I have one thing that I wanted to mention before we dive in. If you didn't know, I do have a membership option on my channel that you can go ahead and join. And over there, I occasionally do members only live streams. And now that I've gotten ahead of the game and I have pre-filmed and gotten my ish together, I plan on pushing most of my videos to members only 1 to 2 days before they go public. So if that is something, if you are like me and you want like that instant gratification and you want to get Wednesday's video on Monday or Tuesday instead of Wednesday, that is an option for you if you join the channel membership. I don't want it to feel like I'm pushing that on anybody. I just wanted to make that clear before I get into the video because it's something I started doing recently and I don't want you to miss out if that's something that you're interested in. But now that you know that, let's get the f into this video, shall we?
Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to tonight's awesome call. My name is Shane Devlin, and I am an independent consultant and executive national vice president with Arbonne. And we are so excited to have your beautiful faces on tonight. What we're going to be doing is sharing the story of two gorgeous friends of mine, their journeys, what they've experienced with this Arbonne business. And what we're hoping that you will glean from that is seeing a little teeny piece of you inside of that story that they share. Right? We're going to look for you to kind of search inside and say, what am I loving about my life right now? What are some things that I would like to change? And in that, you're going to be hearing that from them as well. So we're going to kick it off and get started right away. So first round, we're going to start with Miss Michelle Holly. Michelle, I want to ask you, my sweet friend, what did you do for a living before Arbonne found you? What did you love most about that career? What did you like least about that career? And what were your hesitations about a business like Arbonne?
I'm so excited for this. I love these questions. So, hi everyone, my name is Michelle Hawley. I'm 28 years old, currently live in northeastern Vermont with my husband Tyler and our 2 boys under 2.5. My background is in exercise science and nutrition. So when Arbonne first came into my life, like being a mom was not even on my radar at all. I was a newly graduated with a degree in exercise science. And a lot of my peers were headed into the field of going to get their master's for OT or physical therapy or to become a registered dietitian. And I knew that my path with my degree and my passion for health and wellness, I knew it was going to take me in a different direction, but I didn't necessarily know where.
Into an energy drink pyramid scheme.
I knew it was going to be different than my peers. Both of my parents had very entrepreneurial mindsets growing up. They both were business owners, kind of made their own schedules. And that was always something that really, really appealed to me. But I didn't know exactly how it was going to come together for me. So I decided, hot out of college, I had just moved to California with my then boyfriend, now husband, and the Marine Corps took us out there. And I started a fitness and nutrition business that I worked with women all over the globe online, helping them bridge the gap between food, fitness, and loving their bodies. And I was so incredibly passionate about that, you guys. I was so excited to get up every day and connect with these women from all over. But when you start a business from the ground up and you have no business training whatsoever and you have no clue what you're doing and you're fresh in the industry and you're brand spanking graduated out of college, 22 years old, you don't know what you're doing. And so I had to pick up a job at a gym as a personal trainer, training in-person one-on-one clients as well as growing my online business. And
that's what it's actually like owning a business. It takes a lot of work and dedication. It's not just going to happen. It's not an easy street to take. It's a pain in the ass, quite frankly. So I don't know what she's gonna say next, but I'm thinking she'll probably basically pitch Arbonne as a business in a box. All you have to do is sign up and you're automatically a business owner. The problem is you're not. And she should know that as somebody who started an actual business. I really hope that nobody is on this opportunity call or watching this recording after the fact that is a college student and thinking,
oh, I don't even have to use my degree. I could just sign up for Arbonne and be successful.
Because that's not the case.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Over 99% of people lose money when they join an MLM, especially because you have to pay to join. When you're going to work a job or start your career in whatever field you went to school for, you typically don't have to pay to start working. So right off the bat, I just feel like they're already targeting people who are graduating college and don't know what to do. do. This is not the answer. MLMs are never the answer. It is about that time that we take a short break to thank this video sponsor, which is a repeat sponsor of my channel, and that is Aura. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but I am somebody who regularly searches on the Googles my full government name. So I recently did this and I came across something that was a little unsettling. When I hit enter on my most recent government name search, I found myself on one of these data brokers websites that we see all too often. And the information that they had on me was not okay in my opinion. We're talking full name, current and past phone numbers, current and past addresses, and to make things even worse, they have all of that information linked to me along with my family members and their names and addresses and phone numbers and ages and all of the things you need to just, maybe steal somebody's identity. Personally, I see this as a huge invasion of privacy and I don't think it should be allowed. And as a growing creator out here on the YouTube streets, I would prefer that this kind of information is not easily accessible for the general public to access. It's absolutely wild to think that this information is out there for just anyone and everyone to find and exploit however they see fit. And something that shook me a little more was the fact that recently AT&T announced that over 73 million customer records, both existing and former customers, were released on the dark web. And that's a staggering number of people whose personal information is now in the hands of who knows who. Now, of course, AT&T recommends that those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. But let's be honest, who has the time to do all of these things every day and stay on top of it and make sure nobody's trying to be you out here? I know I don't. And this is where Aura comes in. They are doing all of these things for me, and I don't even have to lift a finger. Say, for instance, that my information was leaked through the AT&T data breach. I wouldn't have to worry about it because Aura is already working on that for me. They do this through one easy to use app, and they are always on doing the hard work of keeping my information safe so that I don't have to sacrifice my privacy just because it might be such a chore to keep up with it. Now, I know I value my privacy and I'm sure that you do as well. And this is why I highly recommend going ahead and checking out Aura. You can go to aura.com, that's aura.com/SAMD, SAMDEE, and I will put that up on the screen for you as well. Or you can just go down to the description and click the link. It is already there for you. And once you click that link, you can go ahead and get started on your free trial today. And again, thank you so much to Aura for being a repeat sponsor of my channel. Back to it.
It was something, again, that I loved, but a couple of things were always nagging at me. Number one, my job at the gym, I knew that I wasn't being paid what my value and what I had to offer people really was. I was dedicating a ton of time, but I wasn't being compensated what I knew and believed I was worth in terms of my knowledge when it came to health and wellness. And on top of that, when it came to my online business, I loved it so much. But as I started to gain traction and success with it, there were two things that really, really stood out to me. Number one, it wasn't scalable in terms of money or impact. I knew that I wanted to make more money. I knew the vision that I had for my life and my future when kids did come into the picture. And I also knew the kind of impact that I wanted to make on the world, the kind of people that I wanted to inspire, the kind of people that I wanted to connect with. And in order for me to do that with my online business, it was going to require more and more and more of my time. And I wanted something that was going to help me essentially figure out how I could have those two things together, build the impact, build the income at the same time. Little did I know that Arbonne was actually going to be the answer to all of those things. And it came into my life in a way that I least expected it to, which I think happens for a lot of people. But for me personally, my biggest hesitations that came with Arbonne, where I had a huge chip on my shoulder about the network marketing industry as an entirety, because I had a really bad experience with a completely different company when I was 19 years old. And because I was young and naive and impressionable at 19 years old when I had this bad experience, I kind of lumped all network marketing companies together and said, all of these companies are not it.
You were right. You should have listened.
And then you were accurate. Your 19-year-old self knew what was up. And now, where did we take a turn? Because again, MLMs are never the answer. Just because you wanted to scale and grow your business, you don't turn to an MLM for whatever reason. It's not going to help you do that.
They all give me the ick. They're all the same. And I lived in that camp for a really long time, almost being a network marketing hater, if you will. I actually really, really was one. And for me, the only way that I really came out of that and literally living in that camp, suddenly switching over to the other side and being like, I want to go all in this business, was I came to a crossroads in my life in March of 2020, as a lot of us did. But for me personally, within a week's time, the pandemic hit. My dad, who was like my best friend and biggest inspiration in this world, passed away from a short battle, but a very aggressive battle with pancreatic cancer. And then my husband, who was currently deployed at the time when all of this was going on, was extended for an unknown extra amount of time. And because of just this, the terror that was going on in the world and everybody's fear surrounding the pandemic, I truly didn't know exactly when I was going to see him again. And I remember I was sitting at my mom's kitchen counter at this crossroads. I was like, I have a choice right here, right now. I can either lean into the things that I feel called to do, or I can just sit here and say everything's happening to me right now. I'm just going to crumble and fall. And I did what my parents have taught me to do. And I decided to go with that first option and rise to the occasion and really lean in and go for what I was feeling called to do, which I didn't want to admit at the time, but I was being tugged in the direction of Arbonne. And I knew that deep down, everything that I was hating on was just a lack of understanding. And a lot of it was truly just me being afraid of what people were going to think of me. And I said, I'm not going to waste another day of my life worrying about what other people are going to think. And so I decided then and there to lean in. And that's how I overcame that. So hopefully that answered everything in a little bit of a nutshell for you.
It sounds more like she was in a vulnerable place where she was feeling desperate, and somebody probably took that as an opportunity to take advantage of her situation. And now she's here and doing the same thing to other people. It's a vicious cycle that we see all too often.
It sure did. That was awesome. And I love a couple things that you said there. Number one was that the job that you were doing wasn't scalable in money or in impact. And this call is specifically for those of you in the healthcare field. So if you're listening, you're probably in the healthcare field. And I want you to think about that, right? If you're a nurse, if you're a personal trainer, and so many of those professions, gosh, your contribution is huge, but you're not always being rewarded for that contribution, right? Like
first responders, people in the medical field, things like that. I agree. Sometimes they're not getting the affirmation that they're needing, whether it's recognition for doing something or not enough pay, whatever it is. But what we shouldn't be doing is taking advantage of those situations and pulling them into a bullshit MLM like Arbonne. If you're not familiar with Arbonne, they are another health and wellness MLM. They have like their greens and different vitamins and skincare and all of this stuff. So of course they're going to go after the people in the medical profession because they think, oh, they can just sell to the patients or their clients or whatever. That's unethical. Let's not do that, because you're double dipping essentially. Because not only are you, if you're a personal trainer and you're getting paid commission on your clients, or you're getting the full amount that you charge the clients, you're now double dipping because you're pushing your MLM on them. And a lot of times people who are aware of MLMs and the business model, specifically Arbonne and their products, are going to be turned off by this because they don't want to be pushed into an MLM, whether it's to buy or to join. So you're gonna lose clients. It's just a bad idea. If you want to recommend different supplements for clients, if you are a personal trainer, nutrition coach, or anything like that, where you're recommending things like that, do it in an ethical way where you're able to confidently recommend clients products and maybe make a commission if you're affiliate, but there's no join aspect. You never have to ask anybody else to join you, because that's where it gets sticky and it gets kind of yucky and people are turned off and they don't want to deal with you anymore.
these are jobs that you guys are giving so much of yourself, your time, your effort, but you don't have employees working for you generally, right? You don't have the ability to make more money from their efforts. And like you said, you also can't scale the impact. So you're never going to be duplicating yourself in the ER or in the ICU, right? And And so that was an awesome job. Awesome job, my sweet friend. And I think your hesitation was totally normal. So many people are afraid of what others will think. So Miss Beautiful Becca McKernan, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. And Becca will share with you her previous position, her greatest parts of what she did, the things she didn't love so much, and what her hesitations were when she was brought into the Arbonne circle.
Yes. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining. And if you're catching this recording, thank you for hopping on, because it means somebody was thinking about you, and either maybe you fall into the category of just generally interested about Arbonne, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom like Michelle and I, work from home, stay from home, nutrition, fitness, whatever. My background is in labor and delivery nursing. So I was a nurse for, I think, like 9 years. And in that time frame was introduced to Arbonne. So we'll kind of get to that. But why was I a nurse? I felt called to be a nurse from time I was a very little girl. I felt like always had elderly grandparents. Like they were never young to me. They were always old and had ailments and that sort of thing. And right away, I found a comfort in helping people. I loved giving my grandmother pedicures, and I was the one, like, even when she had like older and was, had TMI, but like some accidents, I was the one that was giving her sponge baths at like middle school age and high school age. I was comfortable. I loved it. I loved making people feel good. And in 8th grade, when the nurse came to our career fair and talked about how you can have this rewarding field helping people, at that point I was like, should I be a nurse or a teacher? My mom was a teacher, and I only wanted to be a teacher because they had summers off in addition to helping people. And so I remember my first hesitation was like, oh, when I'm a nurse, I don't get summers off. But I just loved how you described that you can just make an impact and a difference. And so I dove into the field of nursing, and I started in medical oncology and quickly switched to being a labor and delivery nurse. I loved it. I love helping women go through that process. And some of the best parts, like I said, was just making an impact on that one-on-one, two-on-one, whatever it is level. On the flip side, what was I not enjoying at the time? Well, I was a night nurse, so I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And at the time I worked, I did not have any kids yet, but I can just distinctly remember nights like tonight, maybe a little cooler than tonight, but nights like tonight, let's see, it's 8:13. So 2 hours ago, I would have been showering, just quickly stuffing my face with some food, putting on my badge, walking out the door while my husband was like firing up the grill to have like my parents over, my sister over to have these times. And I was like, there's going to be a time someday where I am not going to be walking into the hospital on the most gorgeous June or summer night, and I'm going to be able to stay here and be present. And I'm not going to be that hungover feeling after 12 hours. And I liked being a night nurse. I'm a night person, but I did not get to plan my schedule. I worked nights, I worked weekends, I worked holidays.
Welcome to adulthood.
And that worked okay for me. For anyone who maybe doesn't have kids or like knows the difference from when you don't have kids to having kids, it was okay. I liked picking up holidays so the mamas and dads could be together on Christmas Eve. I was working those days in order to give that to other people with the knowledge that someday I was going to figure out a way to be home with my kids when I decided to have them. So enter Arbonne. It came into my life. I don't know. I was a new labor and delivery nurse, and this cute girl hosted this party, and I went, and I don't have to get into the whole story because it's really about what my hesitation was, but I sat around that table, learned how to wash my face for the very first time. I never washed my face.
Oh my God, stop fucking lying.
Ma'am, I know you're lying. I just really have a hard time believing she's telling the truth. You never knew how to wash your face? Are you fucking kidding me? How old did she say she was? So she had already gone to nursing school and graduated. So she was old enough to know how to wash her face. You knew how to wash your face. We don't need to learn in our 20s and 30s how to wash our faces. We should be learning that in our childhood. What? You didn't know how to... I call bullshit. Especially you're a nurse and you don't know how to wash your face. You're feeding these people lies and bullshit, in my opinion, of course.
Learned about these products and thought, wow, I'm going to be a product user because I need these, even though I have no money at the time. I was actually applying for a second nursing job. I wanted to work in the hospice house because I love that end of life care. And I have a soft spot for old people, even though I was doing labor and delivery. And so this girl who presented this Arbonne opportunity had no idea that even though I was in my dream career, loving what I was doing, I was financially suffering. My boyfriend at the time was now my husband. We were living in this tiny apartment, like a walk up above somebody else's garage. It was hot. All the little tiny issues that come along with an old apartment. And she didn't know that even though like here I am walking in as this proud nurse, and I was training for like a half marathon at the time. I just like looked good, felt good. Had no idea that my credit card had gotten declined at the grocery store a month before, because here I am in my dream job and I can't make enough money to be able to do all the things that I want to do. So I left that party that day, and I remember she teased me with some of the details that Michelle will go over in a little bit, like this Mercedes-Benz cash rewards program. I was driving cars that like you had to crank the windows down.
Manual labor. The horror.
So I saw this vision of like, oh my goodness, this could be something that could work for me. My hesitation was, what if I'm not good at it? I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, especially like if you're a nurse, like you go to school.
Let's talk about that car program for a second. First of all, who cares if you're cranking the windows down? If the car gets you from point A to point B, who the cares? We don't need to be driving Mercedes-Benz all the time, okay? Anyway, to touch on the car program, I always like to explain it for anybody who doesn't know the fine print of the car program. So if you look at the fine print, it will basically say that you are responsible for the monthly payment, whether you choose to lease your car or buy your car. It is your name on the lease or the loan. It is your credit that is pulled for the lease or the loan, and it's you that's responsible for the payment month to month. You will get an allotted amount of money if you hit the rank every month. If you miss 1 month or 2 months or however many months, you're not getting that extra payment to pay your car payment. And it's not going to be Arbonne that suffers in terms of a missed payment going on your credit report or your credit history. It's going to be the individual who went for the car program. It's now on them to figure out how they're going to pay it without that monthly bonus if they didn't hit their rank. And Arbonne doesn't give a if you're going to miss that payment. They don't give any shits. So I hate when they bring up the car bonus program, whatever the it's called, because it's so misleading. It's not like you're just winning a car. You have to pay for it, and you have to keep your rank every single month. And it's not easy to keep your rank every month, because once you hit that rank, a lot of times you kind of reach a point of burnout and you're just like trying to catch your breath. And a lot of people fall out of that rank very quickly.
You do your 4 years, you graduate, you orient, you learn what you're doing on the job, and then you just throw yourself into this career that most of you feel called to do, and it feels good and you do well and it's great. And here I am thinking about taking the risk into this business that I have no idea what it's about. I'm not salesy. I used to tell this girl, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a nurse. And she would be like, you know what? We don't want sales. We want passion. We want people who love and appreciate health and wellness. And like, you have that credibility. You're a nurse. And I remember that was just my biggest thing. I thought, I don't have enough friends. I don't know enough people, and I won't be good at this. And let me just tell you, I launched that business in that tiny little apartment. That girl came to my house. We sat around my little coffee table on the floor. People showed up, and I just took one step in front of the other. And here I am 10 years later. I have grown a beautiful organization, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but I've walked away from the career of nursing, at least for now, to raise my babies and be present with them. And I just came across something. Let me pull it up because it was just like such a good little message that I saw, and I took a picture. And it's so true. She said, my dream was not to have to choose between making money and being a present mom. And that to me was like, yes, like that's what I wanted to be able to accomplish. So I'll let Shane ask the next round of questions, but
I hate that. So if you're somebody who has a traditional job, who leaves the home to go to work every day, Monday through Friday, Sunday through Saturday, whatever your days are, there's no shame in that, okay? And a lot of times these calls will insinuate that there is shame in doing that. If you are doing what you have to do for your family, and you're also being present when you're home or when you have that time with your family, then there's no shame in that. We're in an economy where we have to do whatever the we have to do to make ends meet. It's tough out there right now. And an MLM is not the option to leave your job and be present with your kids. You can be a working mom or dad and still provide your kids with a great childhood and be present and make memories with them. It doesn't have to be this black or white thing. Like, you can go to work and also be a parent, a great parent. Let's stop this bullshit narrative where we have to be available 24/7 to be present with our kids. That's not the case. It's just not, okay? We're all our own people. They need a break from you too. So they're probably like, please go to work, mom.
I think for whatever hesitation you might have, if you're watching this recording or watching this live, like, talk to the person who introduced you to this call or wanted you to get on this call, because there's every hesitation you have, we have a way that we can help you walk through that. Because there's just nothing like what we have in this business, and it's given us such a flexible and amazing lifestyle. So back to you, Shane.
I love it. I love everything that these guys shared, because how many of you can have those hesitations running through your mind? Like, I'm afraid of what people will think of me. I don't know if I could do this, right? So many people that I meet have never been business owners.
Yeah, neither are you, pal.
And if you look at these two women, I love how opposite. Michelle grew up with her parents being more entrepreneurial. Becca's not so much. Amazing, amazing, hardworking people, but more typical American, very good jobs, right? So both of them had different backgrounds, but they had their hesitations, and yet they still decided to move forward. And why is that? Well, so before we go into round two, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what Arbonne is. So we're basically a 44-year-old company. I want you to visualize literally everything that you put on your body. your shampoo, your conditioner, your face wash, your moisturizers, your mascara, the mascara that I'm wearing, your self tanner. Now it's summer. Maybe you don't need self tanner, but you need sunscreen, right? Moisturizer, all of these great products on the outside, and then a whole bunch of things that go on the inside. Protein shakes, amazing probiotics. Who would have thought the me of 30 years ago would ever get this pumped talking about probiotics? But I do, right? So we make all of these great products that have less toxins in them than what you were going to find in the typical store. And so the night that Becca went to that first party and learned how to wash her face, she didn't say yes to the business right away, but she did fall in love with the product. Michelle didn't say yes to the business right away, but she did fall in love with products. And what I want you to get is what Becca said. She didn't think she was a salesperson. We're not looking for salespeople in this business. We're looking for people that truly care about others. And all of you in the healthcare field that are listening to this call, that is you. That is you. That's what you naturally love to do, is take care of others.
Stop. Do not join an MLM if you are in the healthcare field based off of whatever she just said. Just because you feel like you want to help people doesn't mean that you should join an MLM and push bullshit products on them. No. That's not what that means.
So now we're going to go into a little bit more of like the money and the impact that a business like this can make in your life. And I'm going to have Michelle describe, both of them describe like what this business has done for them and their families and where they're taking this business now. But I just want to share quickly that the first couple levels in Arbonne, some people come into this business and they're just looking to make an extra $500, maybe $1,500, maybe $3,000 a month. And that's great. The first two levels of management, you can totally do that. And Michelle's going to explain those. And then she's going to go on to describe where she is now, which is a regional vice president, where the money is a little bit more maybe corporate replacement money, right? It's more of that, like, say, $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 range. She also gets $800 a month to drive a beautiful white Mercedes from Arbonne. So Michelle, would you share with us what your life looked like as you were passing through those different levels of management and what it looks for you like right now as a VP and where you're going?
Absolutely. And this is something that I am so passionate about talking about, because I like to emphasize to anybody who's even considering this opportunity that you don't have to step into this business with massive dreams of reaching the top 1% of the company and making buku bucks. See earnings.arbonne.com to know what's typical. But when I stepped into the opportunity with like just this little interest the size of a mustard seed, I was like, if I could have $117 to pay the Wi-Fi bill that always comes in at the end of the month, it's always that last bill, the thorn in my side, that when I was really struggling to get my fitness and nutrition business off the ground, there were a couple of times I had to call my parents and say, hey, can you spot me $60 so that I can cover this entire bill? Because I was so in my head about finances, I didn't even want to tell my then boyfriend, now husband, about it.
Here's something that a lot of people won't admit is that most people in their lifetime have had to do that. And again, there's no shame in that. As a parent myself, I know that when my kids grow up, there's going to be a time where they call me and they need help financially. And I'm prepared for that. I know that's going to come and I will figure out what I need to do to help them. And I think any parent does that for their kids. And I wish more people would share that they had to call their parents in their lifetime for financial help. I think that's very common, especially when you're just getting out of college and starting your career. It's not going to happen overnight just because you went to college, right? So you go to college and then you figure it out from there. You have to give it time. I feel like so many times these people who joined MLMs that claim their college education and their career afterward wasn't enough. They didn't give it enough time. You have to be there for at least a few years before you start really making money and being able to make ends meet on your own, especially in this economy. Let's normalize the fact that it's not easy to first get started in your career after college. It's just not. But that doesn't mean that we should be joining a pyramid scheme.
Allegedly.
And leaving our careers.
I was like, $117. That's all that I want. So as I started to work for that, I was able to make that happen. And I was like, this actually is relatively simple. What if I could also make enough to cover my student loan payment on top of that 117? And then I was able to do that. And then I was in district manager territory, where the average earnings are between $300 and $1,900, depending on where you're at in that title, in that level of management. And I was like, this is actually kind of fun. I started to find my groove. I started to do the personal development. I started to hop on the training calls. And I was like, what if I could just make enough to cover my half of our living expenses on top of everything else so that I could really, really dig in and focus a little bit more on my fitness and nutrition business. And then I wouldn't have to stress as much about how much I was making there. And so I started to work towards the area manager level, the top 8%, where your business actually also becomes willable at that level. You can will it to somebody in your life so that if something tragically were to happen to you, that money still goes on. You're creating a legacy at that level. And that's just the second level of management too. Average earnings are between $1,000 and $4,000 as an area manager. So I started to step into that territory and I was like, this is really a lot of fun. I started to have people come and join my team and they started to make some money and they started to be able to pay some of their bills that were the thorn in their side. And I was like, I'm really starting to dig this. What if I could make enough to completely cover what I was making in my fitness and nutrition business so that I could just train people on the side because it's fun for me and I didn't feel like I had to keep doing it in order to stay afloat and to pay my half of all of our living expenses, etc. So then I started to dream much bigger. And that's when I saw the VP title coming into play. And I started to see what that could do for myself and what that could do for my future family and what that could do for the other people who were joining my team too. So started to work for that level. And it was amazing what unfolded from there. So average earnings for that VP level are between, like Shane said, about 5,000 to 12,000, depending on where you fall and what you're working towards. Everything is effort based. So you really can step into this opportunity and scale your impact and your income how you see fit. So over the course of the last 3 years, that's exactly what me and my team have done. And now my life is truly everything that me prior to Arbonne could have only hoped and prayed for, but had no clue how I was going to get there. I get to stay home with my 2 boys, my 2.5-year-old who is so crazy and compassionate and fun, and my little 3-month-old son who I was able to like literally just have the most precious newborn experience with ever, knowing that my business is there, my team is there. It was something I could get emotional about, but I'm not going to do that tonight.
Thank God for that. For that, yes.
So incredibly epic being able to have that piece of it now and still having those scalable dreams. So another big piece of that, my husband and I are very passionate about investing in real estate, and a solid chunk of what I make in Arbonne every single month that gets put into us growing our real estate business. We actually are now under contract for our 3rd rental property. We're up to 11 units. And it's the most epic thing to be able to see my husband's dreams also unfold, because he's been more passionate about real estate than pretty much anybody that I've ever met in my entire life. So a big expansive vision from there, and where I want to take things even further is to be able to make enough with Arbonne personally so that I can provide experiences and adventures and opportunities for my kids, but also to basically take on anything that I need to take on in terms of my own income so that we can also allow my husband to really pursue real estate full time, and let that be his thing, because that's what he's always wanted to do, is his thing. And he's made plenty of sacrifices for our family, and it's his time to shine. So that's like the big impact and the big vision for me there.
That was a lot of income and lifestyle claims. And I'd like to also point out that you can do those things without an MLM. Whether you start another business or do something else on the side, there are other ways to do these things. You do not have to join an MLM to get the money to do these things. And like she said, the percentage of people at the top where she is making that amount of money is very small. Most of the people in Arbonne and any MLM are making little to nothing. And that is because of the saturation, the oversaturation. You have to build a team in order to make the big money. And building a team is going to get harder and harder with each MLM as more and more people have joined or declined to join. But they're not going to tell you that part because they need to recruit you so that they can keep their ranks. See how that all works?
Even more so though, now I truly feel like the team that we are growing and we're building right here, right now, my success line is the most epic group of women. And I feel like I keep saying epic, but it's so true, because epic proportions, epic impact has happened. And there are so many women who have stepped into this business and said yes to it and now are dreaming bigger because of my yes, because of Becca's yes, because of Shane's yes. And that is a ripple effect that is unlike anything that you're going to find in any other field, in any other industry, in any other company. It's just different here. So
that's what they all say. They all say it's different here. Every single MLM will tell you their compensation plan is like none other, and it's different in the MLM. For example, Soul People.
We created an experience that we believe transcends anything the world's ever seen.
Example number 2, Amari.
The reason why we chose this one is because it has a very squeaky clean product. 2 is that their compensation plan, their pay plan is just absolutely, I've never seen anything like it.
And of course, last but not least, Scentsy.
I am so bought into Scentsy that, so number one, I chose Scentsy and I choose Scentsy because of the core values. So we'll just start there. The authenticity, the simplicity, the generosity. Our core values are like through the good, the bad, and the ugly. They are anchored to that, and you can feel that. And if you guys have been to a Scentsy event before, like, you know the feeling and you just know what that culture's like, right?
Neither of those things are true. All the compensation plans are very similar, and all MLMs are the same, because what you have to do to make money in an MLM is build a pyramid-like structure of a team, in my opinion. They're all laid out the same. Stop trying to sugarcoat it.
That's where I've been. That's where we are now. And that's where we're going.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And guys, if you notice, she found a way to scale, right? She found a way to scale money and impact, because when you bring people into this business, they are learning to go out and share these amazing products. They are creating an income.
She didn't scale. She moved her focus. She didn't scale anything. She joined an MLM. There was no scaling. She joined an MLM and cut back her time working as a personal trainer and health coach. That's not scaling.
By the way, we are paid 5 times a month with Arbonne, so you can make that $117 cable bill, right, based on your efforts and your willingness to be coachable. Go to earnings.arbonne.com to find what is typical, but these ladies obviously are not typical. They kept going, they kept growing. And I love that you get to reward your husband, because he's made so many sacrifices for your family, but also our country, because he is a military man, and we love Tyler to pieces. He is epic, as she said. So, Miss Becca McKernan, would you share with us, like, what has starting an Arbonne business done for you, your beautiful family, and where are you taking it, my love?
So I feel like I'll just start off by saying that I'm sitting here at a sister's house. I'm present with my 2 kids. I have a third one on the way, and I'm sitting here. I know it's 8:30, but my son took a solid 3-hour nap today. He's almost 4, and he's outside the window right now watering the garden with my brother-in-law, like having a blast of a time.
Time freedom, 8:30 at night. I'm so present with my kids. He's outside, and I'm just watching him on a Zoom call. We really got our blinders on, don't we? Maybe take them off. Look at the big picture, because it's not looking good, in my opinion.
And Michelle, we were just talking before this meeting, is up at a camper at her family's camp, like spending the day because it's hot. She got in the car and took her boys there. Even Shane just walked through a really difficult time with elderly parents, one passing away, being present the whole time. What I'm trying to say is that we live this life once. We live every phase of our life only once. And it's fine if your passion is to follow your career and whatever it is, like, everything's fine with what you want. But if you're on this call, most likely you just want something more out of your life, whether it's more flexibility, more choices, more saying yes to things. Like, you see other people say you want to be able to, it's having more to be able to do more and give more and be present more. So I think, to answer Shane's question, so in Arbonne, there are 4 levels. Shane marched the first 2. Michelle just sort of painted the 3rd. And I, 4 years into my business, promoted to the top level national vice president, where I think the average is anywhere between like $21,000 and $23,000 a month. And you could say, like, oh my gosh, that's like more money than I could fathom. And yeah, I remember thinking that at the table when Amy shared that 10 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, how is that even possible? Or like, what are people even doing? They must be like corporate, amazing salesy people. No, it's really, those people are just people who have a huge heart, have a huge vision, and love helping other people.
Do you really believe that?
And that's where, like, I love co-hosting with, like, someone like Michelle.
False. Those people probably have a huge network of people already that they have been able to reach out to manipulate into joining Arbonne. And that's what you need to look at. You need to look at the people at the top. Look where they started. Were they influencers? Were they somebody with a big social media following? Because a lot of times that's the case when people climb that quickly to the top in an MLM. These are things that are very important to know, but they glaze over all of those facts because they just want to reel more and more people in without knowing the dark side of the MLMs. And to me, in my opinion, there's more of a dark side to all MLMs than the bright side, and that's a big problem. And people should be aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly of what they're getting into before they decide if they want to get in or not.
Who has a passion for helping people, nurses, teachers. You know, we have this passion for helping people. What has this business done for me? I can't even begin to describe, but it gives me choices. From the time I was little, wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom was for a chunk of time. My husband's mom was. It's what the design, I always thought what people did. And then I grew up and realized there was options, and I thought it's still what I want to do. This time is so fleeting with our kids. And I am just so grateful that on a random Wednesday, I can say, guys, do you want to hop in the car and go visit your great grandparents who are an hour and a half away, who are declining fast with dementia and Alzheimer's and all of these things? And do you want to just go do that? And do you want to be able to go to the lake with friends? Like, you know, we started our morning this morning at swim class with my 2 kids, with my best friend and her son. And then she said, "Are you have any plans?" No. So we spent the whole morning just splashing around in my backyard in a pool. And I know.
Okay. Again, MLMs are not the only way to do that. They're just not. And also there's no shame in not being able to do that because you have a job. That's okay. There's no shame in that. You're doing what you have to do for your family. But if you're somebody who is struggling with the fact that you're not able to do what she is saying your life should be like, just know that MLMs are not the only way to do this. You could start a virtual assistant gig on the side and start to build that. If you're creative, you could start making things and selling those on Etsy, if that's your thing, and start building that. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you could start building that and get to that point eventually. Those things that I just listed off are going to give you a better chance at having time and location freedom than any MLM in the entire universe.
That doesn't sound like technical, and I'm not talking Arbonne at all, but I'm talking as real life and real things that, like, I think really weigh on people's hearts at the end of the day when they lay down and they put their head on their pillow and they think like, oh my gosh, like there's more month than there is money. And I'm watching my kids' milestones happen through the eyes of somebody else, and I want to be there. And all I want to say to you is when you get off this call, I hope you just feel a little more excited about the fact that there are other choices out there for you to make a little bit of extra money or a lot of bit of extra money and make a change in your family and for your life. And when it really comes down to it, one of the biggest reasons that I love to this business is because it makes me proud. I don't know if that's any of you, if you're a mom on here and maybe you feel like a piece of your identity has become your children, and that's okay because that's what we're here for. But we're still humans, extraordinary humans who deserve to make an impact in this world and to be able to start a business on like the same playing field as everyone else. There's no application, there's no prior experience needed. Everything's learned. It's whether you're willing to be a little bit more open-minded to a different way of making money.
If you have no idea what you're doing and that's okay with the company, that should be a red flag.
Sound the alarm!
You should have some kind of idea what you're doing, whether it's knowledge about the products, knowledge about sales, any of those things. You should have some kind of idea of what you're going into. So making it sound like a flex that you can have no idea what you're doing to join this MLM or any MLM, it's not a flex. It's not even close to a flex.
And coachable to learn a very different style of learning than I did in the nursing unit. But I was really sick of only getting paid from the time I swiped in to the time I swiped out, no matter how much I worked, how hard or how little I worked. And every year they would give me like a 2.5% pay raise and say that I was doing one of the better jobs and that was the higher percent. And I would go, what? Shane described the levels. The first level of Arbonne is an 8% pay raise. Like, are you wanting to actually make the money that you deserve? Like
an 8% pay raise on the bare minimum of what you can get paid. And also, when you have a job where you're paid for the time where you clock in and clock out, you can leave that job and not have to think about it for the time that you're not there. Can you do that in an MLM? No, because you're constantly looking for people to join your team so that you can get that 8% pay raise that is really only going to be like, what, $5 in my opinion, allegedly.
It's an effort-based business. And if you work hard and you stay with it and you just keep chugging along, I've always had a vision board on my wall. And now my son, who's almost 4, has vision boards on his wall because I know that I'm made for something more than just those little paychecks that gave me a purpose. Yes. Helped other people. Yes. But only those people on my unit that day, that 12-hour chunk. Now I sit here and
That's sad that she thought that. because thinking that you are only making a difference for the patients that you're responsible for in your 12-hour shift as a nurse, you're only making a difference for that handful of people. That's not true. You're making a difference for everybody you come in contact with at that hospital, because who knows what kind of day they're having. They could have just lost a loved one. They could be dealing with a diagnosis that they just found out, whether it's for them or a loved one, anything, any number of things. You're coming across so many people when you're in a hospital. And on top of that, the patients that you're caring for and making sure are surviving and healing and doing what they have to do, you're making a difference for their families and their friends. You're making a difference for so many other people. As a nurse, you should know that. And if you're a nurse watching that and you don't feel like that's the case, know that it is. You're making a difference for so many people. So don't come on here and say that you were a nurse and you were only making a difference for 3 to 5 people a day. I'm sorry that you felt that way, but that's not the truth. You make a big difference when you're a nurse. And it's a way more meaningful and better difference that you're making for these people that I just mentioned.
Able to have my husband and play with my kids, my brother-in-law, they're still watering down there, play with these kids, and I get to make an impact on a global level. Like, I hope you realize how special that is. So when you put your head on the pillow tonight, I hope you have a little bit of insomnia thinking about, like, what could my life look like if time and money weren't such a stressful thing? And I'm telling you from a very humble spot, when I first started Arbonne and I did not have the money, I did not have even the vision yet, because I couldn't believe that you could even have this type of vision. You're going to be able to grow and learn as you go. So I'm so glad you guys joined. I'll let Shane close it out, but thank you for being with us tonight and sticking with us.
I love it. Do you not love their energy? Their energy is just infectious. And so as we're closing up, here's what I want you to think just for 1 second, because this was asked of me almost 20 years ago, almost 19 years ago. Where will your life be in 4 years from now if you keep doing what you've been doing? And do you love it? They actually said, do you like it? But I'm going to caution you to not just settle for liking your life. We want you to be passionately, hysterically, crazy, hair on fire, in love with your life. And what Becca was describing and Michelle was describing, the reason that they were describing what their lives look like now is because it may be your goal, it may not be, right? But what we really want to give you are options and choices, so that if you do want to watch your child watering flowers, you have that option. If you do want to be at a camp with your mom on a hot day, cooling off with the kids, you can. If you do want to go out and do an Arbonne event that night or a networking event like I did this morning, you can. It is all under your control. And so in the health field, we know that so many of you look to offer impact. You're looking for contribution. You want to know that you're a piece of something bigger, but we also know you're not always well rewarded. You're not always well recognized. And you want to know that you have a life of significance at the end of the day. You want to be surrounded with a community you can grow with. And you want to have some security, because we know there's nothing that safe in a regular job, right? So if those things are important to you and you want to love your life 4 years from now, I really ask you, I beg you, get back with the consultant that invited you to this call and ask them tons more questions. Maybe take the notes down, get back with them and just say, I need you to explain this whole thing to me. Give me more details. You won't be sorry. You won't be sorry. I regret that starting this business, said no one at the top ever. So come join us at the top. There's room for you at the table. Mwah. Good night.
That was so cringeworthy, for sure. Do not join an MLM. Do not fall for Arbonne. With that, it's time for our palate cleanser. TikTok hates your bullshit.
He's having drinks tonight. He's gonna run a stop sign. He knows he shouldn't drive, but baby, he's gone. From instinct to in cuffs, I bet his heart's tearing up. And his mugshot is brought to you by Tarantino. He knows he shouldn't drink no more and he shouldn't drive. He took his keys on out that door, got a DUI.
Oh, that's good. That is good. I hope I don't get claimed for it, though. That would suck. Anyway, as always, thanks for hanging out with me while I talk a bunch of shit, and I will see you in the next one.